Taxes, and this could be income taxes as well as property taxes, real estate taxes. If Uncle Sam has found out that you haven't reported, yeah, that lien's going to show up in public records because that's where that information comes from. As well as these things, bankruptcies, if you've ever filed. And again, if it's been more than 7 or 10 years, the effect on your score is nil. But if it's been somewhere within that time frame, there is some effect. It just depends on how long it's been. Have you ever been foreclosed on property? If you've had judgments against you, now this is usually a civil judgment that perhaps a neighbor had an accident on your sidewalk, fell, and you felt like it wasn't your place to pay for that, but they felt like it was, and then a judge passed the case that it was your duty to pay, and you didn't pay, then that judgment is going to be on your credit file. And if you paid it, of course, that's not doesn't come into play. And then again, IRS liens. How long do things stay on your credit? As I mentioned previously, positive information is going to be there indefinitely. And we like that, because positive things reflect on how high your score is. The negative information does have a time limit for affecting the score. Not that it's going to be wiped away and you're not going to see it on the history. It's not going to just disappear. It's just the effect that it has on the score that has an impact on the lender, because the lender is starting with your score. If you have let me see, a chapter 7, I've got it right there. Chapter 7 is where things are wiped away, discharged. You don't have to pay them back. That stays the longest. It stays 10 years. The one where you have a plan worked out that some of your things are paid or discharged, some of them you pay back. That stays for 7. That's chapter 13. Escaped me. Any questions? Oh, collection items. We always seem to have something that's a collection item, and sometimes they appear on our report, and we maybe not even aware. The most popular in that category is a medical claim that you perhaps thought that insurance had paid it, and doctor's offices don't traditionally have a collection department. So things that aren't paid are traditionally turned over pretty quickly to a collection agency, because they don't have anyone in-house that will be able to call and try to get money or tell you, oh, you still owe us that. So they can appear on your credit report fairly quickly because of that. And you think that insurance has paid it because you haven't heard anything from the doctor, and then you look at your report and there's a medical bill that is showing up. That happens to more than most people are aware.
Are there things that a collection agency can do to keep their data fresh on the credit report so that
there's things that they do, but they're not legal?
Will you repeat the question, please?
Yes, he said, are there things that a collection agency can do to refresh? And they do them, but they're not, they're against the guidelines. And they show up a lot. Let's take, for instance, maybe you had a medical that was paid, but somehow the records are in error. And it happened in 2002, for instance. Here it's 2009, right? Yeah, April. And someone tried to collect that, but that agency was not successful. So they sold it to someone else because they either went out of business or they don't want to fool with it anymore. So I sold it to another collection agency. Well, at that transition from one to the next, should not change the charge-off date. It should still say 2002, but sometimes the collection agent will change the date and it will refresh, and they think that they can start from the time they bought it and then 7 years. No. If you see that on your report, you have a valid dispute with the credit agency to say, If you go back in my history, you will see that this was charged off in 2002. It can't affect me after 2009.
And what about me? If I'm paying regular payments, then does that keep it fresh? If I work
It
out a
does.
20-year payment plan with my collection agency,
Right, it does keep it fresh.
it does keep it fresh. So that's why they jump on that, oh yeah, it just takes a little each month.
Yes, that is exactly why. Because if you pay them a little bit each month, that history continues to show. And it does not fall away or have no effect on your score. So it's gonna stay there for as long as you're paying them. The collection, you can get your report. Wait a minute, let me make sure I've gotten all my notes from there. Yes. Starting with the FACTA Act that Bush passed in 2005, every consumer is allowed to see their credit report once a year. All three agencies, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Our advice is to pick Equifax in April, pull it at the annualcreditreport.com site, go back in 4 months and pull the TransUnion, go back in 4 months and pull the Experian, so that when you get back 4 months from the Experian, you're at a year anniversary to Equifax, and you're able to look at your report on a 4-month basis and not have to pay for it. Now, you don't get your score. They retained that full cost there, that they charge consumer if they want to see their score. It ranges from $5 to about $8, depending on which agency is, which website you're at.
What address did you say?
Annualcreditreport.com, and that is printed in the back. I think it's on the last slide, a couple of the last slides on the back. If you go to freecreditreport.com, that's kind of a knockoff site, and they're going to charge you. That's not going to be free. They're going to have some cost there, so just be careful of that. That annual credit report business is located in Atlanta, and they don't share a whole lot, but they have shared that ability for the consumer to call to that 800 number. You can do that 800 number, which is in your packet, as well as a P.O. box if you don't feel comfortable in going online and asking for your credit report. It has those three.